Hello and welcome back. I'm your host, Brandon.
And I'm your co-host, Taylor.
And this is
New Country, Same Us.
This production is brought to you by Soft Landings by Elsewhere Co., a company we created to help people achieve their great adventure, whether that's moving abroad or starting their new business. We can help you to achieve your soft landing. It's great to have you here. All right, so you might notice something a little different today. This is our first episode in a new format. I'm now hosting solo, at least for part of it. So don't worry, I won't be all alone by myself all the time. Taylor will join us occasionally, and we'll even have Xavier back in our kids' corner. So for those of you who've been listening for a while, this used to be a co-hosted podcast. My former co-host, who is still kind of my co-host, Taylor, has some other commitments that she needs to see to. So we've had to restructure things a bit. However, I am excited to embark on this solo hosting adventure, and I promise to keep it casual, conversational, the same vibe that you've come to expect, with some new twists. But you can still expect our similar format to the past. We're going to do a country highlight, where in each episode we'll spotlight a different country, dive into its history, culture, food, travel tips, all that good stuff. We'll have our Kids Corner with Xavier, which is a fun little segment that Xavier shares some fun kid-friendly facts. And then we'll have a global current event breakdown where we'll have a rundown of major world and US news from the past couple of weeks. This part is where Taylor will join me so that we can chat about some of these things that are going on. And then from there, we'll have an interactive game segment, some kind of fun game or quiz each time. And this will actually be a segment that Taylor hosts. So I'll be in the hot seat as a player, and you listeners can play along as well. And of course, we'll have a wrap up with our outro, where I'll do a quick recap, maybe answer some listener questions if you guys send some in, or give you a question of the week, and then a sneak peek as to what's coming next episode. All right, sound good? I'm really looking forward to this new format, and I hope that you are too. Feel free to let me know what you think. I'll mention how you can reach us at the end. All right, so let's dive in. Grab a snack, get comfy, and let's get started with our first segment. Welcome to our Country Spotlight segment. This week, we're traveling, in our minds at least, to Portugal, land of explorers, amazing food, and stunning coastlines. Now, I have a soft spot for Portugal. My wife and I helped a couple move there recently, and let me tell you, it's a beauty. They raved about the cobbled streets of Lisbon, the smell of fresh pastries in the morning. Honestly, it sounds like a dream. But even if you haven't been, you've probably heard of Portugal's famous explorers, or at least tasted a Portuguese custard tart. Let's talk about what makes this country so special. So first off, a bit of history. And don't worry, I'll keep it fun. Did you know Portugal is one of the oldest countries in Europe? In fact, it's often considered the oldest nation state in Europe because it's basically had the same defined borders since 1143. That's the year Portugal officially became an independent kingdom through the Treaty of Zamora, for you history buffs. So Portugal has been around as a country for almost 9 centuries. That's pretty incredible. Its capital, Lisbon, is even older. Lisbon is actually one of the oldest cities in Western Europe, predating cities like London, Paris, and even Rome by centuries. I found out Lisbon is about 400 years older than Rome, second only to Athens among European capitals. So when you walk through Lisbon's Alfama district, within its winding alleys and ancient walls, you're literally walking through history. So then we'll fast forward a couple hundred years to the 15th and 16th centuries, and Portugal becomes the superstar of the Age of Discovery. This tiny nation was a big maritime power. Portuguese explorers were everywhere. They were the first Europeans to sail to India around Africa's Cape Cod of Good Hope. Shout out to Vasco da Gama. They colonized Brazil. They reached parts of Africa and Asia. Basically, they had a global spanning empire. Fun fact, Portugal and Spain actually split the world in a treaty at one point. Can you imagine? Though I'm glad that arrangement didn't stick around forever. The legacy of that era is why places like Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, Macau in China, and more all have ties to Portugal. Portuguese is still the official language of several countries across South America, Africa, and Asia. In fact, over 230 million people speak Portuguese worldwide, making it the sixth most spoken language globally. Not bad for a country of just 10 million people today. Politically, Portugal went through its monarchy phase, kings and queens, for centuries, and then became a republic in 1910. It had a rough mid-20th century. There was a decades-long authoritarian regime under Salazar, but eventually the Portuguese people peacefully overthrew it in 1974's famous Carnation Revolution, so called because people put carnations in soldiers' rifles. How beautiful is that? Since then, Portugal has been a democracy. It's a proud member of the EU, joined in 1986, and NATO, and generally just a stable, peaceful country these days. Also, cool trivia, Portugal and England have the oldest continually active alliance in the world, dating back to a treaty in 1373. So those two have basically been best friends in diplomatic terms for over 600 years. No joke. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about culture and lifestyle. One thing that struck me about Portugal was how laid back and friendly the people are. It kind of seems to be a theme in Europe, but life moves at a gentle pace, especially in the afternoons. Family is super important. On Sundays, you'll see big multi-generational families having lunch together. People also really enjoy the outdoors, the surf, the sun. Portugal gets something like 300 sunny days a year on average. That's wild for Europe. One cultural gem of Portugal is fado music. Fado is a traditional Portuguese music genre. Imagine a singer with a guitar singing these soulful, melancholic songs about love, loss, and the sea. If you ever visit Lisbon, I highly recommend spending an evening at a small fado house. It's goosebump inducing, and even if you don't understand the lyrics. And we have to mention sports. If you know one thing about modern Portugal, it might be their love of football, or soccer for you Americans. The country produces some world-class players, the most famous being Cristiano Ronaldo, who is regarded as one of the greatest football players of all time. On any given game night, you can hear cheers or groans echoing from the cafes when the national team plays. Now, on to my favorite part, food. Portuguese cuisine is delicious. It's rich, hearty, and seafood heavy. Not surprising with that Atlantic coastline. The national dish is bacalhau, which is salted codfish. They jokingly say there are 365 different ways to cook it, one for every day of the year. Some even say more than 365. Clearly, the Portuguese love their cod. One popular preparation is bacalhau à brás, which is shredded cod sautéed with onions, eggs, and thin fried potatoes. It's comfort food at its best. And if cod isn't your thing, not to worry. They offer grilled sardines, octopus rice, hearty stews, peri-peri chicken, which is a grilled chicken with spicy peri-peri pepper sauce, which is all fantastic. But the crown jewel of Portuguese food, in my sweet-toothed opinion, is the pastel de nata. These are their famous egg custard tarts. Try to picture a flaky golden tart shell filled with silky egg custard, and then it's caramelized on top. The most famous ones are from Pastéis de Belém in Lisbon. And please don't fry me for my pronunciation here. It's gonna get worse as we get to different nations, I promise. But even if you can't get to Lisbon, many bakeries around the world attempt these. But there's still nothing like enjoying a warm pastel de nata with a sprinkle of cinnamon and a bica or espresso in a Lisbon cafe. Pure heaven. Another interesting foodie fact, Portugal is one of the biggest producers of cork. Yes, like bottle of wine corks. So about 50 to 70% of the world's cork supply comes from Portugal's cork oak forests. Now, if you open a bottle of wine, chances are that your cork might have Portuguese origins. And they're very proud of this. You'll even see touristy cork products, cork purses, hats, you name it, for sale in the shop. So it's sustainable and uniquely Portuguese. All right, so let's move on to travel and places to see in case you're itching to visit, because I know I am just talking about it. Lisbon is a must-see. Obviously, and we've been talking about it this whole time. It's a gorgeous, hilly city with colorful, tiled buildings. Take the iconic Tram 28 ride through the old neighborhoods, or visit the São Jorge Castle for panoramic views, and definitely check out the Belém Tower and the Jeronomi's Monastery, both World Heritage Sites. Also very important, Lisbon has the world's oldest operating bookstore called Livraria Bertrand. Sorry for that massacre of the pronunciation. Opened since 1732, a paradise for book lovers, and a cool historical claim to fame. And then there's Porto in the north, smaller to Lisbon, but so charming, with its medieval riverside district, the Ribeira, and those beautiful port wine cellars across the river, Via Nova de Gaia. Yes, Porto. It's the birthplace of port wine. So do a tasting if you can. And for those of you who don't know, port wine is a sweet fortified wine. Also in Porto, there's Livraria Lelo, often called one of the most beautiful bookstores in the world. Harry Potter fans might recognize it, as it supposedly inspired the look of Hogwarts staircases. For beach lovers, head south to the Algarve region. The Algarve has gorgeous beaches with golden cliffs and clear turquoise waters. Towns like Lagos, Albufeira, and Tavira are popular. It's a big vacation spot for Europeans. Think of it as the Portugal equivalent of, say, Florida or Southern California. Surfers, by the way, flock to Portugal too. The surf culture is huge, especially on the Atlantic coast. In fact, get this, Portugal is home to some of the world's largest surfable waves. There's a town called Nazaré where, thanks to an underwater canyon, the waves can swell to 80 to 100 feet in winter storms. It's where multiple world records for biggest waves surfed have been set. Even if you're not a surfer, and I'm definitely not, especially at that level, watching those monster waves from the safety of a cliff top is thrilling. Nazaré has basically become world famous for daredevil surfing. If you like historical sites, check out Sintra, just outside of Lisbon, for crazy romantic palaces and castles atop lush hills. It feels straight out of a fairy tale or Inception or something. And then there's Évora in the Alentejo region, which has Roman ruins and a creepy bone chapel. Yes, decorated with human bones. Not for the faint of heart, but certainly memorable. For nature, the Azores, autonomous regions of Portugal, are like paradise. Volcanic landscapes, hot springs, mountains, flowers, whales. I haven't been yet, but it's definitely on the list. Anyway, the bottom line, Portugal is awesome. It combines a rich history with a warm, relaxed culture. Whether you're into castles, cuisine, surfing, or just sunbathing, there's something for you. And it's relatively affordable compared to, say, Paris or London, which is a nice bonus for travelers. And for those of you who are looking to move to Portugal, there are a ton of options available to you. If you're looking to either retire, use a digital nomad, find employment, reunify with family, use an entrepreneur visa, or even something called the golden visa, where you can invest within the country, these are all legal pathways for you to move. If that's something you're interested in, we are more than happy to help you to find your soft landing in that way. For now, we will move on to our next segment, Kids Corner, starring Xavier Marquez.
Hi, I'm David. This is Kids Corner. I have some fun facts about Portugal for you. In Portugal, they speak Portuguese. To say hello, they say hola. To say goodbye, it's adios. To say thank you, they say obrigado. The longest bridge in Europe is Portugal. It's called the Vasco da Gama Bridge. The national animals are bear and wolf. Roar! Ow! The national bird is the rooster of Barcelos. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Did you know Portugal holds the world title for the biggest omelet ever made? What? It's weighed over 6 tons. That's crazy! That's Kids Corner with Xavier. Catch you next time. Do-do-do-do-do.
Thank you so much, Xavier, for that. As always, you did a great job, and I'm so proud of you. Don't you guys think he's cute? Please share that information with your kids if you have your own, so that they can have their own fun way of learning about different countries around the world. Next up, we have our current event segment with my wife, Taylor, where we're going to talk about current events that have happened within the last couple of weeks and especially within the last 48 hours. All right, welcome back to our current event segment here with Taylor. Taylor, nice to have you back on the show.
Nice to be back. Nice to pop in.
All right, so a lot has happened since our last podcast. I know it took us a couple weeks to get it out. We had a lot of paperwork stuff that we've been working on, so we were a little bit behind. But some of the things include the government shutdown reaching a record-breaking length. I think the previous record of the longest government shutdown before that was 34 days. And we've officially passed it. I think it's more than 35 days by now. But the previous record was held again by the Trump administration in the last term.
Well, that's not really a record you really want to hold or beat. Like, it's terrible that the government shutdown has happened. I don't know if there really seems to be an end in sight for that.
Yeah, that's the troubling thing. I know that it's kind of being used as a way to paint a negative light by each party for the other party. So it's a political football, but they're doing so by playing games with people's lives. And some of the things that you see in a government shutdown include they're going to have it where air traffic controlling is being stopped. People who are in government jobs are either being furloughed and laid off by this administration or just straight up not getting paid. And they're even talking about, for certain people who are furloughed, not getting back paid, which is troubling in and of itself. But then, we have right now the biggest sticking point for everybody is the cancellation or deferment of SNAP benefits.
Yes, and honestly, this whole thing is unacceptable. It shouldn't be where people who it's their job to run the government and figure out how to actually play ball with each other are then basically throwing a temper tantrum and are fully fine with having people aren't able to get food. Their resources aren't getting to the proper channels, but they're still getting paid.
Well, the worst part about this is that it's basically, for the American people, a lose-lose situation. If the Democrats decide to go with a continuing resolution, which right now would only last two weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
It's not long before they have to come up with a whole new either continuing resolution or new spending bill. Even so, because of the previous bill, you're going to see everybody's premiums go up in insurance either way.
Well, that was going to be my question. What is the fighting point that basically is having it where they're not able to come to a solution?
So as of right now, in the simplest terms possible, because of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, there's subsidies that are provided to insurance companies to help offset the cost of health plans. And even if you're on a private health plan, you stand to benefit from these because we're a group insurance model.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not something so simple as each individual is just paying for their own health care. Insurance pays into a pool and people pull from that as needed. So that model bases off of having healthy people who don't necessarily need it, being able to pay into it so that people who are unhealthy, aren't paying so much themselves because they have to pull out from it.
And then the subsidies are provided by the government to basically help offset the costs for everyone.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so to make it affordable, right? The Affordable Care Act, right? So
who knew?
But, with the big, beautiful bill, they basically got rid of these subsidies and are making it so that people are going to have to pay more. And it's across the board. I mean, you're seeing premiums jump from, a family of 3 from as little as, $250 a month that they're paying now to next year having to pay upwards of $1,000, $1,400. I've seen some as much as $2,000 a month. And I mean, you're basically paying, for somebody who makes, 35, or let's be on the generous end and say you're on 60,000.
Yeah.
Right? If you're making 60,000 a year, but you're paying $2,000 a month, you're paying more than a third of your salary into insurance. So what's going to happen is people who are healthy, who don't need insurance necessarily, are going to stop paying for it, which is going to cause everybody's health care to go up as well. But then the government currently, as it stands, is trying to pull back on people's protections of coverage. And so if you're not guaranteed coverage anymore, you can be kicked off for prior conditions and overuse, then you're going to have a society that has no safety net and is in crippling medical debt, which is now still, it was originally taken off of your credit report, but now it's back on because of the current administration. So
Got it.
a lot of crazy things. So the Democrats want to put those back on, and the Republicans just want what they're calling a clean resolution, which is exactly what was passed is what we're going to do. And so
they're not willing to come to the table as of right now to have it where they meet in the middle.
Right. And honestly, at this point in time, it stands to benefit the administration because with the Trump administration, they're getting unilateral authority to basically lay people off in the name of saving money. However, this is making everybody's lives more difficult. Air traffic controllers are not showing up, or, there's not enough to keep airlines open. And so, mind you, this is the busiest time of year for airlines. We have Thanksgiving coming up shortly.
Yeah.
We have Christmas coming up later. And with no end in sight, it's likely that we're going to have a pretty difficult holiday season for everybody. Not to mention, if you're not getting your SNAP benefits or you're getting a partial payment for your SNAP benefits, a lot of people are going to go hungry for the holidays.
Well, that's honestly, that is the biggest concern. I know they did something where they were doing a partial approval for the benefits, but the biggest thing with SNAP is you are on them because you meet the income level and you need the help for food.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, which is the new name for food stamps. It's basically an EBT card that is loaded with money that is earmarked specifically for food. And I've heard some rhetoric about people who don't like what people are spending their SNAP EBT on, but to me, I don't think it matters so long as people are being fed.
They need the money for food. And also, people need to get out of everybody's business. If you saw my bank statement, you're like, okay, why are you spending that much on pants? Okay, it's my business. No one should be able to dictate what someone else spends their money on for their family.
Well, and that's where the rhetoric comes from. They're saying that it's not their money, that they're not entitled to it. It's not like you can spend SNAP EBT on, say, pants. It's all on food. And whether it's nutritiously dense or not, really, as long as people are eating, I think that, that's what matters. And let's say that there is a small percentage of people that are abusing the system. I don't think that the vast majority of people should suffer because of it. I think that people should have a right to be fed and get food.
Well, that is true. And especially with the holidays coming up, it's honestly disgusting that they're playing this political game where people are not having access to their food to the point where a lot of people are doing it on their own, going to food banks, trying to pull together as communities to see how can we help our fellow neighbor when it should be the government's job because that's what we're paying them for.
Well, and I think that, beyond that, we as a society should have evolved to a place where we're not paying people starvation wages, where they can't afford food, because it was something to the effect of 60% of SNAP beneficiaries hold a full-time job. That's a large number of people who are working and still need additional benefits. For people to say, get a job, feed yourself, people are still working and they're still not able to feed their families. I think that should sink in for a supposed first world country. Obviously, there's no end in sight, and they would have to come up with a whole new spending bill to be able to go forward. However, I don't see how that's going to happen with the division that exists today. And so I'm hoping that there's some light at the end of this government shutdown tunnel. But as of right now, I think it's something like 54 days that the House has been on recess and Mike Johnson's still refusing to call them back in. So we'll see. It's a political football that is going to cost people's lives. So with all that being said, let's move on to some positive news. Yesterday was election day throughout the United States. So for those of you who got out and vote, great job. So it was the first major elections. I mean, it's an off year. A lot of these were special elections. But these are the first elections since Trump's presidency. And we've seen a large swing towards Democrats. You've seen the party flipped Virginia's governorship, electing Abigail Spanberger, and they held New Jersey's election, electing Mike Sherrill, and even New York City chose Zohran Mamdani.
Wow.
So some crazy good Democratic flips. And you even seen the passing of Prop 50 in California, which I was definitely an advocate for, but seeing as how, California voters are, kind of unpredictable. For being such a blue state, there's a lot of purple activity going on.
Yeah.
But it passed overwhelmingly. And so that'll help, with the midterm elections for them to claw back some seats for the House of Representatives. And so these are all good things.
Well, I think this is a good thing that's showing that the people overwhelmingly want more on the Democratic side for policies, and the people are coming out and showing, hey, these are who we want to back. These are the programs that we want to support. But I do think that people can't be lazy and think, okay, we voted, we're good. We still need to make sure that these individuals that they're putting into office are fulfilling the promises that they're saying.
Yeah, I think that, and don't let your activism end there. The thing that I'm worried most about is people are going to kind of be satiated by these wins and think that, all right, the blue wave is coming and we're going to see major shifts in the tide, right? Which is something we can always hope for, right? That's something that I'm hoping and praying that the people of America are waking up and making major shifts. With that being said, I think that people do need to worry about Trump's reaction to this loss, because this is showing a distaste for what Trump is doing. But we've seen before in his previous administrations that when he's not getting what he wants, he tends to act out. And I mean, pretty soon we're going to see, I think it's as early as the 5th, as soon as the 5th or 6th, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing on Trump's executive order authority, specifically with his authority to impose tariffs without congressional approval in the way that he's been doing so, because tariffs usually are reserved for Congress to impose, especially in the way that he's imposing such large sweeping tariffs. It has been in the past. I'm not going to say that presidents haven't previously imposed tariffs on specific nations in response to, certain moves that other nations have done as, punishment. But typically they're temporary. Typically they're done as a reaction to a specific thing that was done. They're not done. I mean, literally every country right now has a tariff imposed by the Trump administration.
And you can see with the Trump administration that having these blue wins is awesome, but Trump still has a lot of people in his corner. The second he says, jump, they're already 10 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So it's still concerning, the fact that a lot of countries are still rolling over for him, letting him do what he wants. A lot of people are looking the other way. So that way he still feels like that he has some power.
Well, and not only that, but I think that not just countries capitulating to him, but I think, the integrity of our elections are definitely at stake. Him seeing that he can lose election-wise is all the more incentive for him to either suspend, delay, or remove elections altogether. And I know that sounds like a scare tactic, it sounds inflammatory, but realistically, this administration is trying to find legal ways to do that. And
well, we are also seeing red states basically putting into play ways to stop people from voting, making it harder for people to vote, or to rework their own districts to gain more red seats. So
yeah, well, the whole Prop 50 was in response to Texas,
yes,
which they redrew their congressional maps, but I think they gained something to the tune of 12 seats, whereas California is only gaining something like 5. It's not equivalent. And the thing is that, as they do voter registration purges, create voter ID laws, have different, they're trying to eliminate mail-in voting. And if they do that, and then they start making it where they're doing cutoff times in the states to when you can vote. I mean, these are all tactics. It's already on a weird day, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday. If you can't get Tuesday off, and let's say that they say you can't vote any later than 6 p.m.
When most people get off at 5. And the other thing is, these are all legal tactics. These aren't ways of going in and like changing a vote secretly and like filling in a bubble. These are ways where if you only allow a certain amount of people to vote, if you say that there has to be a certain level of education, a certain level of ability to prove that's who you are, like what you were saying with the voter ID laws, these are ways honestly, for them to continue to play chess, to get what they want in a legal way, and it needs to be stopped. It's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's total disenfranchisement, and it's scary to see. And we're not even mentioning the nuclear option, which is them suspending elections under martial law or the Insurrection Act.
Yeah.
Right now, Trump is poised to go to war with Venezuela, Colombia, Nigeria, and he's playing risky politics with countless others. Should he be able to build up a case to say, I'm invoking the Insurrection Act, and he already has the military on his side, which I don't know if people are paying attention, but he's setting up strongholds in blue states by moving and mobilizing National Guards and the military to these primary blue states.
Yeah, they've had them in San Francisco, they're in LA.
Yeah, Chicago, New York. I mean, they're all over the place. Not to mention, he's having a lot of his cabinet members, his high-ranking cabinet members, move on to military bases, moving their homes onto military bases. Okay, that to me is suspicious. That, in alignment with the destruction of the East Wing to put up the ballroom with a bunker underneath it, I mean, that just screams World War II echoes. I mean, that was literally the start of the Nazi regime. That's what everybody would earmark as the beginning of World War II.
Yeah.
Is when Hitler built his ballroom with the bunker underneath it.
It makes it seem like that he had maybe a step-by-step guide as to some big events that happened.
I know. Let's see if he authors a book about his struggle. Anyway, with that being said, I know we're going dark again. It's a great day right now, and I think that people really should revel in celebrations of the wins that they've gotten, but don't get distracted. There's a lot of work to be done still. There's so much that needs to be focused on that I think that if we get lost in the sauce and hyper-focus on these wins, then they're gonna win. Another bit of good news. I'm kidding. Well, I mean,
it's news.
It's news. Former Vice President Dick Cheney passed away. So he was an influential and polarizing former U.S. Vice President under George W. Bush. He passed away at the age of 84 due to complications of pneumonia and heart disease. And he was regarded as one of the most powerful vice presidents in American history, and a chief architect of the 2003 Iraq War, making his death a notable moment in U.S. political history. So, yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. Another little bit of good news for, people's ability to borrow. This is more so for large businesses, but, it does have implications on people's lines of credit. The Federal Reserve has cut its interest rates even amid uncertainty. So they're trying to bolster the cooling job market. Now, that's the game that the Fed has to play, right? Do they keep interest rates up to help cool off the rising inflation and risk? more layoffs happening, or do they make the cuts and risk inflation going back up? I mean, there's really not much of a clear situation. And the Fed chair, I think, is Jerome Powell.
Yeah.
He is very aware of the choices that he's making, but his job is 100 times harder under the current administration's they're going in like a bull in the china shop and just knocking everything over. And he's just trying to, at this point, the biggest tool in their arsenal is interest rates. And so I think the cuts are good for, people's borrowing power, but inflation is already hard as it is. And it's only going to go up because of the tariffs as well. And so, I mean, you're not even seeing the full effects of the tariffs yet. And you should start seeing them now. And that's the hard part. And I think that for those who aren't paying attention to these things going up, I'm sure that you see it at the register.
Yeah.
Right. I remember, going to Costco and being like, whoa, what did we come in here for? Why are we spending $400? We need this industrial thing of mayonnaise. I mean, the answer was always yes, but I'm kidding. But
Mayonnaise, peanuts, and toilet paper. That's all you need.
yeah, and that's $400.
Exactly.
It's an interesting thing that they have to deal with.
It is a delicate balancing act, just because he's someone who knows how the economy is supposed to work and is trying to fluctuate so that way the whole thing doesn't just come crumbling down.
Well, and know too that it's not just Jerome Powell. He's the head, but it is a whole group of people who vote on this all together. So hopefully that'll have positive implications. But right now, I mean, that's like trying to fly a kite in a lightning storm and hoping you don't get hit. It's crazy. And speaking of not just inflation, but we're speaking of groceries. For those of you who don't know, there has been regulation pullback from the FDA on announcing different recalls. And if you don't know and you haven't been paying attention, I highly suggest that you follow either people who are keeping you up to date on this, or you yourself are regularly checking the FDA website. There are currently large recalls across the nation on things such as chicken, right? It's a huge recall. And so these are things that are not being pushed to the public in the same way that they have in previous ways, where it's not being reported on the same way. So please make sure that you're staying on top of that for your safety, your family safety, your health and well-being.
That I did not know at all.
Yeah. So with that being said, we'll also move backwards a little bit on a topic we talked about last time with the Israel-Hamas ceasefire in Gaza. Obviously, that is a touchy subject. It was contingent on each other releasing hostages, and both sides are accusing each other of violating the ceasefire. And so it's really a touchy situation. But basically, if you don't know, a fragile U.S. brokered ceasefire in Gaza has been underway for over 3 weeks, pausing the 2-year conflict. Hamas released all the remaining living hostages in exchange for Israel freeing nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. So both sides are now exchanging the remains of those killed. Hamas is gradually returning the bodies of Israeli captives, while Israel hands over Palestinian remains. And it's a delicate process that highlights ongoing humanitarian and diplomatic challenges. Now, the biggest thing that I'm hoping for with this ceasefire to hold is just people to get the medical and food aid that they need, because children are innocent in this, and they shouldn't have to starve. And I guess that's a common theme across the world right now, is that, people shouldn't have to starve. And I have to hold out hope and believe that deep down, humans are good. It's hard to see everything that's happening. And I have to remind myself that it's not individuals who are doing this. I think generally people as a whole are good. I think that we have been brainwashed to thinking that money is the most important thing ever, and it's not. Money is fake. Us being able to live in a system that benefits everybody is completely possible. It's not only possible, There's enough wealth in the world to have done it hundreds of times over. However, the wealth is stagnating at the top, and it's a race to see who can get the most money in their bank accounts. The fact that we're talking about people becoming trillionaires when there's still people who can't afford their next meal.
Well, it's literally that. In America, you have people who are going to be a trillionaire, while in the same time, apparently they don't have enough money to fund the SNAP benefits for November, when also they're spending all this money left and right. So it proves the fact that money is fake. You're saying, well, we don't have enough money to help the sick, to feed kids, but we have plenty of money when it comes to hiring more people for ICE, to do all these wars.
Well, yeah, pay the military.
To pay the military.
They're able to come up with the funds where they need it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just in the United States. I think that this billionaire problem has its tendrils across the world. And, we've for a long time believed that capitalism is the only way. And, capitalism can breed innovation, but when there's monopolies everywhere, there is no innovation.
Why would you if there's just 3 people you have to coordinate with?
Well, that's the thing, is that realistically, if you follow any chain up to the top, they all stem from something like the same 5 or 10 companies. It's ludicrous. The thing is that I feel that there's so much strife and struggle in the world, and we're all heading towards such a dark place when it's really only a handful of people making these decisions for us billions of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if it's only 1,000 people making the decisions for everyone else, I think that that's crazy for us to think that we can't end this regime and start something new, something global that benefits everybody. But we have to be able to move on beyond ourselves, beyond our own beliefs, and believe in a system that benefits everybody. Even if that means that you're giving more than somebody who can't, I think that, we will all have a time in our lives, and we all have had times in our lives. Imagine if we treated babies poorer than the rest of the society because, well, they're not contributing. At some point, you were reliant on somebody, and in your future, chances are you will be reliant on somebody again. As you age and your body gives out on you, you will. So why then is it so hard for you to have that same compassion for somebody else whose whole life is a struggle? I mean, I just think that deep down, put that same love that you have for your child. Put that same love that you have for your pets. For some people, even their plants. That it all exists out there. So put that same thing towards your neighbor. I know I grew up Catholic, you grew up Christian, and in the teachings that we've had, I've always been taught that, God is good. He is light, he is love. And, this isn't me preaching. I find myself, more agnostic these days. But I feel that, the God that I know encourages people to love one another. And you feel that closeness. I know that I feel closer to God when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my family, when I see light in Xavier's face. He is my whole world and my whole joy. And I couldn't imagine if I was ever in a place where I couldn't afford to feed him, that other people would be like, well, maybe you should have spent your money better. Maybe he should starve for a couple of nights because you didn't do the right thing.
Yeah.
I worry about, what if something happened where my grandparents couldn't afford what they were doing anymore? Well, they should have planned better. They should have saved better. Maybe now they'll learn a lesson. Or they'll just have to pay for all their health care now because they shouldn't have to need it, right?
Well, yeah, because no one ever gets old or gets sick. And a lot of the people are more similar than they're different. And I think that's even though there's physical differences, your different genders, different races, there are more similarities in how people grew up, their interests. Everyone has a base level of wanting to have food, have shelter, grow their family, and just have a stress-free, happy life. Everyone can agree with that. So it seems like it would make more sense to have it where people could actually work together for the common good, so that way there does breed more innovation. So that way people are less stressed out and we are able to grow as a world because we're able to build on these innovations, build on people's potential that aren't being stagnated because I'm stressed out, I don't have enough food, money, or I don't know where I'm going to stay tonight.
Well, and just think about how small the world has become. The way that we can travel from country to country in less than a day.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that we can talk to somebody who's all the way across the world, it's in an instant, in real time. I mean, there's no reason that we shouldn't be united as a global community, right? And then just remember this for our audience out there. You are closer to being like the lowest people in society than you are like the highest people in society. It is so much easier for you to become poor after a couple of missed paychecks than it is for you to become a billionaire. And if you don't know, if you can't conceptualize what $1 billion is, I suggest that you look it up. Because if you spent $10,000 a day, it would take something like 274 years to spend your first $1 billion. Spending $10,000 a day.
And most people, the average lifespan is like what, 75 to 80?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that was if you're spending it every day of your life for that many years. Ludicrous. And so these people are hoarding so much wealth that, and it was, I mean, the numbers are staggering. Look up what $1 billion is with numerical comparisons, and it's really crazy. Anyway, we'll get off of our horse there a little bit.
Never.
And let's go a little bit more global. There's been warfare intensifying in Ukraine. Fighting has escalated on Ukraine's eastern front. Russian forces have pushed deeper into the ruins of Pokrovsk in Donetsk region, so sorry if I'm getting those wrong, digging in as Ukraine mounts a fierce defense. Meanwhile, Ukraine is striking back far beyond the front lines, launching long-range drone attacks that has caused significant damage at a petrochemical plant about 1,300 kilometers inside of Russia, and hitting a Lukoil refinery east of Moscow. So these developments underscore the grinding nature of conflict and its expanding scope. With that being said, I know that we're also seeing Russian drones flying over other European countries, and it's really making, EU nation states and NATO nation states uncomfortable. They're violating the space, but they're not doing anything, so it's not necessarily facilitating an attack back, but it is, it is making people nervous that there's going to be another...
Kind of threatening a little bit.
Yeah, another kind of push into another country. Hopefully we don't see that, but in other good news, there was a EU-China rare earth deal. So the European Union has reached an agreement with China to stabilize the supply of rare earth metals, which is vital for high-tech and military products after months of trade tensions. And in talks last week, China agreed to suspend its export controls on rare earth materials for 12 months. So that ensures a steadier flow of these official critical resources into Europe. EU officials welcome the move as a step forward to more reliable global trade in these strategic materials and minerals. So with that being said, I think that China is definitely poising itself to be a super player in, future industry. It's interesting though, because China has its own problem. I forget the official term, but basically they're having the opposite effect of inflation, where prices are too high. Companies are complaining that their prices are too low because they have such a large manufacturing supply. It basically makes it so that industries aren't getting enough profit for what's being made. And it's kind of hard for them to find that balancing act, because then that means lower wages for people. And it could lead to a lot of strife. And this isn't the first time China's had that problem either, where prices have been too low and people are not getting enough, back for it. But with, their current leader, Xi Jinping, he's not looking to stop manufacturing anytime soon. So it's another one of those balancing acts. But with that being said, China is out there making a name for themselves globally again, and it really can make, it can shift the power to China. So that's something to be on the lookout for, because I mean, they have cars. I saw one of their new electric models. I think it's the BYD electric car. You can get it in China for as low as like $7,200.
Really?
That's like nothing.
Wow, that's crazy. That's like nothing comparatively to a electric vehicle over there, like in the US, which is thousands, and like having that rebate. So seeing that they have something like $7,200 for like an electric car,
yeah,
well, that's wild.
I mean, I think that China's definitely one to keep your eye out on, because their technology is getting really advanced, and they're making strategic moves that can affect their global position. And the US is kind of doing the opposite right now. They're becoming isolationists, and that's really going to drop their power. And as of right now, the US dollar is still considered to be the global currency, but we'll see how long that actually holds. So, okay. Now, with that, another piece of global news. Okay, so let's move on to the APEC summit. This is where they focused on trade and AI on this one. So Asian Pacific leaders convened in Jeonju, South Korea for the APEC summit and issued a joint declaration emphasizing shared benefits and resilience in trade amid fracturing global economic ties. Notably, President Trump left the summit early after announcing a few bilateral trade deals, while China's President Xi Jinping took a prominent role, positioning Beijing as a champion of open trade and even proposing a new World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization during the meeting. So yeah, like I said,
kind of exactly what you were just saying, how China is positioning themselves to kind of be a superpower here while the US is kind of taking a step back.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I got our trade deals, so let's get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, that was our segment on current events. Sorry if it was a little long, but there's a lot going on. And I think that it's important that you stay informed. And I think that it's important that you see the larger reach of what these things can do. Yeah, I think that, that it's something that it's very important for us to look out for these things and to stay informed and know what's going on so that you yourself can brace for the storm coming, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get ready for our next segment where we're going to do our game. All right, it's officially that time. Everybody's favorite segment, our game. So this week, it's going to be a little bit different. So Taylor is actually going to be running it. She's going to be our phantom voice in the studio this time. Our intern is actually back in school. His run is done here with our company. So it's going to be back to just Taylor and I. So Taylor, what do you have prepared for us this week?
I am so excited to be the phantom voice going forward. So I do have a fun one planned for you. So we're actually going to be playing Two Truths and a Lie, podcast edition. So for anyone who hasn't played before, here's how it works. I am going to present 3 statements. 2 will be true, 1 will be the lie. So you will have to figure out which one is the lie. Same thing with the listeners back home. And it's going to be 2 rounds. So 1 is going to be for Portugal and 1 is going to be for the current events that we talked about.
Okay. Oof. My God. All right. I think I'm ready. I'm normally in Two Truths and a Lie, I've had a couple of drinks already, and
well, I can get you a couple shots if you want to do it that way.
After that current event segment, I definitely need it, right?
I think everyone could use a drink.
Okay, so I think I'm ready. So
all right,
let's jump on in.
Okay, let's get started with round 1, our Portugal edition. Mm-hmm. So here are the 3 statements. Statement letter A. Portugal holds the record for the largest wave ever surfed. A surfer rode a nearly 100-foot wave at Nazare. Statement B. Portugal's men's national soccer team has won the FIFA World Cup twice in its history. Statement C. The world's oldest bookstore in continuous operation is in Lisbon, Portugal. Remember, 2 of these are true, 1 is the lie. Which is the lie?
See, okay, that's tough because I know, so from the information that I had learned, it was they definitely had the big waves. They're definitely record-setting waves up to 100 feet. I feel like it's something in the context. Like it's not going to be, that any one of these are necessarily false. they're just like the library isn't in Lisbon. But because I know that they have a great soccer team, but did they only win 2 times or has it been more?
How well did you do your research?
Oh, I'm gonna say, I think that the library one, was that the oldest one was in Lisbon? Hold on, guys. Whoa, hey, I wish that we had a live audience so I could get some help here because this is hard.
Do you want to call in a friend?
Oh, yes. Let me call Steve. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go with C.
Okay, you have it locked in with C as that you think is the lie. Doot, doot.
Wait, no, let me
Oh.
unlock. I'm gonna go with B. I think because I think Cristiano Ronaldo himself has, but FIFA's only every 4 years. I'm gonna go with B. Let's go with B. Final answer.
Okay, final answer B. I'm giving it to you because I nearly locked it in. Okay, B is locked. All right, people listening in, go ahead and write in what you think the answer is. And so go ahead for round 2. This is going to be about the recent news that we just talked about. So,
Wait, I don't get the answer yet?
do I give you the answer?
I mean, I have my own questions for the audience later so that they can respond to. How about that, guys? Right?
Okay, so sorry. Yes, so if you locked in B, you just got lucky because that is correct. You almost got it wrong.
Okay. What's the nuance there? Is
They
it more
haven't won it twice.
How many times have they won it?
So they won it once, but the question is that the men's national soccer team has won the FIFA World Cup twice in its history. They have not. They've only won it once.
Oh, man. See, I'm over here thinking that they won it like more times. Ooh, sorry, guys.
Well, you're not a huge soccer or football fan.
Football.
Well, we're more football Americano, and even our team that we rep is not the best, so I don't think we're that great at sports.
Raiders. Yeah, I just lost a couple of followers with that.
It's okay. If you're a Niners fan, we'll still talk to you.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so going into round 2 for the recent news that we just talked about, here are the 3 statements. First one, the U.S. government has been partially shut down for nearly a month due to Congress failing to pass a budget. Statement 2, North Korea fired missiles during President Trump's visit to South Korea this week. And number 3, the United Kingdom announced it will rejoin the European Union after a new referendum passed overwhelmingly. 2 of those are true, 1 is the lie.
I feel like it has to be the last one because I think C, because I would have heard about that, and I don't think I've heard anything about that. That would be pretty remarkable news. And I feel like, if anything right now, the Crown is leaning more into an isolationist approach. So, I mean, the Parliament and the Crown are separate, but still.
All right,
Yeah.
is that it locked
Yeah,
in?
they seem like they're going a little bit more conservative, and joining the EU would definitely be a progressive movement.
Okay, so we're locking in number 3. Go ahead and do. And that is correct. You're pretty caught up on your world news.
Yeah, I know my world news. I'm a pretty well-informed person, and it's a hobby of mine, guys.
All right, those are your questions, and that was 2 truths and a lie.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
All right. What an episode. So, quick recap on today's journey. After kicking off our new style, I hope that you guys have enjoyed it so far. I'm going to be the solo pilot for a little bit with our co-pilots jumping on and off. But with that being said, we were able to jump into Portugal and do a fun cultural deep dive. I know that I enjoyed a lot of that, and I'm totally craving a custard tart right now. And then we also had our kids corner with Xavier, and I'm so proud of his ability to do that. He's always going to be sharing our fun facts every week with us, so look forward to more of that. And then we also tackled some heavy global events. Hopefully, the world gets a little bit better, but, never a dull moment on this planet. And we just wrapped up our fun game segment of 2 truths and a lie. And hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too much, but we wanted these interactive bits for something to look forward to in each episode. Now, before we sign off, new format. I genuinely want to hear what you think. Did you like the new segments? Do you miss the old co-host banter? Or do you enjoy this new vibe? Let me know. You can reach out on social media or comment here directly on our podcast. And you can also reach out to my email at brandon@elsewhere-co.com. And just know that I will read all your messages, and I really appreciate any constructive feedback that you have. This show is for you, so help me shape it. We also covered a lot of topics, so if any of them struck a chord, let's talk about it. For instance, a question of the week here that I'd like to pose for you guys is, if you could travel to Portugal, what's the first thing that you'd want to do or see? Or if you have been, what's your favorite part? Share your answers with me on social and use hashtag soft landings so that I can find it. I'd love to feature some listeners' answers next time and hear your travel dreams or memories. And here's another one. What global news story are you following most closely right now? And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing or following the podcast if you haven't already. That way you won't miss upcoming episodes. And if you really liked it, a quick rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening, it would mean the world to me. It helps more people to discover the show. Plus, it gives me warm fuzzies to read your kind reviews. Also, if you know someone who loves to travel, or is a news junkie, or has kids who might enjoy the fun facts, share this episode with them. We're all about building new communities here. Now, a little teaser for our next episode. We have another exciting country highlight. I won't spoil the surprise, but let's just say we might be shifting from Europe to Asia next week. Hint, street food, lush beaches, pad thai, we'll see. Xavier will be back with more cute facts. He's already asking what next week's topic is, and we'll update you on global news. By then we'll know if the US government is still shut down or not, or if the Gaza ceasefire is holding up, among other things. And of course, another interactive game is on deck. Maybe a quiz, or guess that sound, or something totally different. We'll keep it fresh.
Ooh, I got it. Maybe naming all 50 state capitals in under 2 minutes.
Oh God, please, no. Please, guys, don't give her ideas. We'll come up with something that doesn't make me look too bad. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening and sticking with me through this format change. It really means a lot to have your support on this new journey. I had a blast, and I hope you did too. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and we'll talk again soon on the next episode. This has been New Country, Same Us. Take care, everybody. Obrigado e até logo. That means thank you and see you soon in Portuguese. Bye.
Forget to subscribe, like, follow, and share.